So why Azure DevOps? What we are used to actually till now is so maybe if you are an old developer, old by old means that you, if you are an experienced developer, you might have used waterfall development strategy, methodology, whatever you can say, and nowadays you might be using agile. So from coming from waterfall to agile, you know the pros and cons of both of methodologies. For waterfall, you go to the client at the last stage and ask for the feedback, and if he's agree with the product or not, and then if he asks for a and you create a V, that is also possible. So basically, like if he asked something like this, and you might have created something like this, and then you ask for the client feedback. So yeah, that's too late, and that's why uh, people started using Azure DevOps. DevOps simply an idea, not DevOps, Agile strategy. And then for Agile strategy, it's simply an idea like you plan, build, and continuous integration, deploy, operate, and then you get the continuous feedback. So this is a continuous process, and everything is automated, or at least till max automated. So that's why, because then you get, so let's say you have hey, you have whole new solution, you are creating a new solution, but what you do, you divide it in small chunks, and then you keep developing those features. So let's say you developed a feature X, and then you build it, you integrate it, and then you deploy it. Integrate means you just integrating it to your source control or source code, and then you deploy it, and then you get the feedback from the client, or you via demo or whatever, and then you, with that feedback, you take that feedback into account, and then you do it either you do some new changes in that feature, or you continue with your new features. If client agree with your current product, then you continue with new features. So basically what you're doing, you just agreeing, you are keeping the client in loop, and you are developing a product which will not give any surprise to your client. But this process brings in a lot of complexity, and then your product is not really so not the product, but the team is not really effective. So let's say if you will keep doing this loop like this, tick, 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 then you have a lot of overhead. So in waterfall, what used to happen, you get the requirements, you get onto it, and you develop it, and you just deliver it. But now what is happening? You you are you have the requirements, you plan it, and you build it. You do the development, you do, and then you integrate it, deploy it, and get the client feedback, and then again do it. So it's a bit of in it's kind of involving a lot of overhead as well. So you like the idea, but it is bringing some overhead with it. So to solve this problem, you try to use DevOps. Dev means development, and ops means operation. So dev and operate. So basically what you're trying to do is you want to automate all these operations. And then if all these operations are automated, then you don't really have to do much. You just have to focus. So developers have to focus on development, and then product owner can focus on products, and so on. So everyone is happy, and everyone is doing what they like to do. Exactly, they are doing what they need to do. So what we do, we what we do here, we just trying to automate this. We are trying to automate whole process. So this is DevOps, and to do that, we have multiple providers. One of them is Azure. So that's why it's Azure DevOps. Everyone is doing, I think most of us are doing since long. Maybe it can be if we are a Microsoft, if you are from Microsoft background, then you might be doing using Team Foundation server earlier, and now you might be using Azure DevOps server or Azure DevOps services. You might be doing that, but most of us are doing this since long, but not exactly 100% or 80%, but in still some extent. At least I was doing since 5 6 years or more, but not as much as I do now. So simply with this Azure DevOps, lot of things come into picture, and you get a lot of things in here. So then for specific tasks, I'm not talking about Azure DevOps, but I'm talking about DevOps in general, because not all these things are provided by Azure. So what you get in return is for every specific part here, you get a specific tool that you can use to do all your things automatically, or you to automate them, or to handle them better. And let's say you want to build your code, and for that purpose, especially for depending on your code base, you have different of build tools available, and those build tools or build agents use specific things, or dependencies. Let's say you are building a .NET application, .NET Core application, then that specific tool or a specific agent actually will install everything required to .NET. And then if you have a Java application, then it will do exactly the same thing for Java required application. So that's why we really need DevOps. And so you are not focusing on the process, but you are focusing more on, so you can spend your time more on development. You can do what you like to do. So basically, as I said, for every step you have set of tools that you can use. For build, for plan, you have other tools, Slack, Mattermost, but also Teams. For deploy, you have other tools. For operate, you have other tools, and for testing, you have other tools that is coming in feedback, that can come in between here, continuous integration. Uh, uh, so here you can have testing for before integration, you can have integration testing before deploying it. So many things are there, so basically you are coming up with a huge package do to automate everything. So then to implement Azure DevOps, what you do, what you need. Basically, this is your cycle. You know that, right? So code, build, test, release, deploy, operate, monitor, and then plan again. So this is your cycle. What happens in a cycle? If you're following, let's say if you're following Agile methodology or a Scrum methodology, then let's say you have 2 weeks sprint. You plan in the beginning of the sprint and then say, okay, we're gonna do these many features, or we're gonna solve these many bugs as well within the sprint, and then we divide tasks, and we go ahead. from there we create our branches, and then if you are following a Scrum, you might be doing that actually. We create our branches and then we work on those branches using those branches, and from there on I can continue working on my feature or my bug or my problem, and then in the end I can merge my changes into the main branch, and then I can deploy it, and in between I can also perform some tests, uh, and I can also perform some checks and then deploy it and get the feedback, and after the deploy I can also do some demo, and that's how I end up my sprint. So this is how you can implement the Azure DevOps. Azure DevOps tools. What are the tools actually you have in place for Azure DevOps? Let's go. Um, so basically, Azure DevOps has these tools. Actually, you have also many, but these are the main tools you have. So basically, you have Azure boards. These are the services actually, and you have Azure boards, you have Azure pipelines, you have Azure repos, you have Azure test plans, you have Azure artifacts. We will talk about them, about all of them one by one in next videos. Here just we want to understand what is happening here. Azure boards is just used to plan and keep track of your work and discuss. So Azure boards is simply to plan, track, and discuss your problems. Azure pipeline is to build, test, and deploy. So it's basically the pipelines which are doing continuous integration and continuous delivery. So these are these two things are done in Azure pipelines. Then you have Azure repo. Azure repo is simply to host your code. So cloud hosted private Git repos and collaborate to build better code with pull requests. So Azure repos is simply uh, to host your code, and Azure repos provide many options to host. It can be Git. You can also, so Azure repo Git, but you can also use GitHub. You can also use other mode of hosting, code hosting, because many companies might not like to host their solution or host their code in cloud, or maybe there are many security compliances, so they want to host on their own server. So that is also possible. And then you have Azure test plans, which is to perform tests and to create some test plans, and then validate your application. Then you have artifacts. Artifacts are basically for packages. So let's say you have a library which you want to share with your team, across your team, or maybe you want to publish your library as public use. So if you want to do that, you can manage them here, and you, let's say if it's a .NET library, then you can publish it to Nugget, and then from Nugget anyone can use it. If it's a public artifact, if it's a public feed, then anyone can use it. If it's not a public feed, if it's a shared, and if it's a private, depends on your um, accessibility. So this is what you have in Azure DevOps. We will discuss about all this one by one, everything, and so we will also see, to get started with Azure DevOps. You have different options. You have individual services. So basically there are two things. First is Azure DevOps services, and then you have Azure DevOps server. Azure DevOps Server is basically you have to deal with it locally uh, to install it. You can use it, and then you have Azure services. So there is difference in both. In Azure services, you have different types of plans for different services. You have Azure pipelines, Azure artifact. So you can start for free. You can have a basic plan. You can have a user license. So that depends on your requirements. You can really start with it as free. So with this one, you will get one free Microsoft hosted CI/CD, one free self-hosted CI/CD. If you don't understand the meaning of these, I'll explain later during the whole series. Don't worry about these things. And then you have a basic plan. In the basic plan, you have a first users free, and then you pay $6 per month. Uh, in this one, you also get Azure pipelines, Azure boards, Azure repo, Azure artifacts, but you don't get test plans. So in here, you only get these four things. In this one, you get one more, which is test plan, but also you get other benefits. You can explore this and yourself, I think, if you want to get started with it. It's Azure DevOps for open source. You can get started, start for free with DevOps. So Azure Visual Studio subscribers get free access to DevOps. It's for enterprise Visual Studio subscribers. You have different options. You can explore. I'll suggest you to explore this. On top of it, you have other extensions which are Docker, Slack, Sentry, GitHub. You have 1,000+ extensions. You see here, 1,000+ extensions for free. Um, so basically, this is it. So this was just an introduction series about Azure DevOps. What is next? Next, we will start talking about the az-400 contents, and the first one in that series is Azure DevOps services, which we just saw. The first one is in that, especially we will talk about Azure boards. So if you're still enthusiastic about it, we will continue this watching this channel, watching these videos, and subscribe to this channel because I really need your support. That's why you should subscribe to it. And if you're enjoying, let's continue. See you in next video. Thank you. If you want to connect, you can connect, search tech of the day. You can send me email, pause this video and check out this email. It's tech of the day by nk@gmail.com. And thanks for watching. See you. Bye.